So that's an interesting point, though, that you just made, that you had to keep feeding yourself
Yeah.
the dream. You know what I mean? Keep feeding yourself, keep it going. And because I've heard someone once said that if you have a dream, kind of keep a lid on it. Don't tell anybody, because other people will taint it. They'll put their bugaboos on it, their fears, their. And I think as we get older, not that you and I are, but
This gray hair is not accidental.
I don't have any, so. But as we get older, it just people have had experiences now, and other people's fears or other people's experiences on someone's dream.
Yes.
Like, you can't start that dream now at 45 years old or 50 or whatever the age is. Mm-hmm. What do you say to that?
Oh, that's an easy one. I happen to be blessed in many, many ways. And one of the blessings in this life for me is the piece of my personality that is not, I'm not an approval seeker. So therefore, if I have something that's going on in here and it seems positive to me and I can afford it or it doesn't harm anybody, then I'm going to keep marching toward it regardless of what anybody says. So I don't have to fight off the negative nabobs, as I call them, that yammer. And I learned fairly early on, if you want to do something, whatever it is, whether it's become an astronaut, walk across the country, sail around the world, talk to people who've done it, rather than talk to Cousin Eddie or Aunt Louisa who's never done it and have them say, what do you want to do that for? Or similar,
Very good point.
I learned that fairly early on, and as I said, blessed with that piece of personality. If somebody doesn't have that piece of personality that can ignore other people's comments
their
easily,
opinions and approval,
yes, and so forth and so on, that I believe that going back to writing it down, and people can nurture a dream themselves and keep it a secret. There are some people I know today who are successful, who don't like to talk about something that's a dream of theirs for fear that perhaps it'll be tainted, jinxed. Somebody will shoot it down. Somebody will rip it off. Certainly in the entertainment business, where people have ideas and intellectual property is sometimes the only thing they have.
Right.
And they're very shy, not shy, but wary about sharing it with other people. I fully understand that. With me, I'm one of those people who, some things I don't talk about until they become something close to reality.
Right.
Other things I'll talk about almost every day, because you need other people to realize some of your dreams, and how can they get on the page with you if you don't tell them about it?
If you don't let them know what's going on.
Yeah, they've got to be as enthused as you, or darn near as enthused as you, to make it happen.
So in getting to your next step, how did you begin to implement that tool? With the next step that you took after you were at this radio station.
Yes.
How did you begin to use that tool in to
Well,
moving
of course,
you
from
forward?
there I wanted to be at a bigger radio station.
I know. Of course.
And that did happen. It's not without detours
Of
or
course.
without potholes.
Right. It's not
And-
very linear. It's
No,
very gestalt,
There
if
was
you will. Yeah.
from that part-time job I had running the board at CHVC, and I remember the slogan, CHVC and the Rainbow Bridge. I would make those audition tapes late at night that I talked about, and I sent them to stations, Syracuse, Buffalo, Utica, New York, and places that I thought I'd want to go to really start my radio career. And I had a call from a program manager at a place in Little Falls, New York. And Little Falls is pretty descriptive of what it was. It was little, and there was a falls there. So I remember my mom, I was living at home, and she gave me a piece of Samsonite luggage as a graduation gift. And I got on the bus, the old Greyhound, headed down to this station in Little Falls, New York, and to meet this program manager. When I got there, he appeared to be about 10 minutes older than myself. And it was a surprise to the program manager, I think, that there was this little black kid who showed up in their midst in Little Falls, New York, at a radio station that was not playing ethnic music. It was just a radio station serving the community. And that was my goal. I didn't want to be pigeonholed as this or that, certainly at that time. And
How did you know that, though?
How did I know what?
That you didn't want to be pigeonholed at that age? That's amazing.
I want
seriously.
remember that the people I was idolizing were Jack Parr or Johnny Carson or those people who were doing that.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
On radio and on television. And I'd had a chance to visit a couple of radio stations in Buffalo and so forth. But anyway, the owner of the station, sort of took me aside and said, I'm not sure a young black man would be happy in this town. And
is that the first time that anyone had ever said anything like that to
well,
you?
first time in a potential job situation, certainly.
Jeez Louise.
And I'd sort of taken aback for a moment, but I thought about it for a short while.
How did you take that in? Yeah.
The next day, I was back on the bus going home.
Right.
With my Samsonite luggage
Right.
back
Oh,
home.
God.
But of course, we now know that everything happens for a reason.
Right.
And it was shortly after that where I was running the board and not being on the air, they gave me an opportunity to be on the air in Niagara Falls, slightly larger market, within spitting distance of Buffalo and Toronto.
Right.
And so that was the true beginning of a radio career for me. Right at home, I was able to drive to the station and still live at home for another, almost a year before getting an apartment. And there was a reason.
Right. Isn't that funny? Sometimes the biggest obstacles or things that would come up or they're just crushing at that time really might be the secret door into our next step.
Yes.
Into walking into that dream.
It sounds like Pollyanna when you sometimes say a door closes, a door opens. So door closed, within a matter of months, another door opened, and it was a good door for me.
Very good door.
Yeah.
And how long were you with that station? And did you begin to get a lot of exposure and a following and things like that?
A following. But more than anything, I was learning the craft, learning how to express personality. Remember the shy kid,
Right.
I had a chance to work late nights. That's where I started working late nights. And